everyone, the drawing I'm going to show you right now is how to draw an ear. This is extra, you don't have to do this, but it might be a good exercise if you want a little bit more of a challenge. The handout that I'll be following again is the bottom of this page. This is on the Drawing Bootcamp module exercise 7, eye, nose, mouth. This is the very bottom and we'll be drawing this view of an ear. Keep in mind, this is what an ear looks like when you're looking at someone from the side in a profile view. You're looking at their ear straight on. If that person turned their head toward you, this is not what their ear would look like. It would look a little different. So just keep that in mind as we draw today. So I'll be following along with that. You're going to use your same materials you have been, your HB pencil, your 4B, your eraser, and your tortillon. As always, we'll start with that HB pencil to get our contour drawing down. So the very first thing we're going to draw is the interior line of the edge of the ear. It's going to come down, come out a little bit like this, and then down like that. I have another line just above it. It has a little bit of a curve. And then we're going to continue that line with a little bit of a break, but we're going to go up and around. We're going to start angling into the right just a little. Again, everybody's ear is a little different. We have a little loop that comes up and around, something like that we're going to be working on. Move a little closer to the center for you. Then I'll be drawing some more interior lines. I'm going to draw a line here. That's going to come around. I'm going to go parallel to that original line I drew, and then move in just a little and end like that. I'm going to draw another line. I'm going to actually bring this one in just a little bit more. I'm going to draw another line that's going to come around like this. These shapes might feel a little strange to draw at first, but they're going to provide really great guidelines for us when we do our shading. Like that. I have another line that comes up, around. Like that. And then my last ones are just a little interior line here. Another one in there and in there. Again, I'm going to do a little refining. I feel like I made this space just a little too wide, so I'm going to erase that. And as always, I'm sure you will stop this video, pause, change your drawings as needed as well. I'm going to bring that in just a little. There we are. We have our first contour drawing down. Now we're going to do some shading. So as always, we take our trusty our 4B pencil. That's going to give us some nice dark values. And I'm just going to start laying in some interior shadows. Ears are all about highlights and shadows, right? What stands out and what is set back in space. I'm going to start doing a little bit of shading out here. Again, notice how far away my hand is from the end of the pencil. I'm pushing very, very lightly right now, just laying down some value. I have a lot of lines happening in my ear right now. Eventually, I'm going to be erasing a lot of those lines because I don't want to have those outlines. They're just kind of providing some guidance right now as to where these shadows are going to be. I'm going to do some shading in here, coming around this way. This edge right in here is really important because this is the edge that would actually go back into your ear. Now we know there's a hole in there that goes into your head, but we're not going to be drawing any circles or holes because we can't see that edge. We're just going to darken that up a little bit on the right side here. And we'll use our tortillon in a second to blend these. I'm going to do a little bit of shadow also over here. And a little bit of shadow in between here. Notice how lightly, once again, I'm pressing down. I'm also going to add a little bit of value just to this outside edge. We know that this part of our ear curves around, right? So I put a little bit of shadow on this outside edge. It's going to help that go back into space, which is what we want. So just softening that up a little bit. And I'll put a little bit of shadow in here too. I'm going to finish up where I started here. I didn't finish shading in that. And get that shadow all done. So again, right now I've just colored in a lot of my drawing. Where the magic happens is when I take my tortillon and blend it. So definitely don't stop here. We still have a lot of work left to do to make this look more realistic. So taking my tortillon, working in small circles. I'm going to blend this here. And I'm going to keep this side of this shadow just a little bit darker. I might even go back in later and darken that up a little bit more, because as we know, this part of our ear curls around, and we know there's a shadow up in here that we're going to want to identify and refine just a little bit more in a couple minutes. But for now, I'm just going to blend these. Make sure that you're keeping this white area nice and clean. Try not to let any smudges get in there. Have control of that tortillon. Again, using small little circles. Blend this a little bit here. I'm going to add just a little bit of value out to this space out here as well. So again, I don't want that line to be there eventually. That line just kind of provides a guideline for me. But we don't really have any lines on our ears like that. Blend this area as well. Continue working in this space that I had earlier. A lot of tortillon work when you're blending shadows together in ears. And then once I have that done, I'm going to still do this exterior edge out here. So again, I'm just going to soften this edge. This is where you could definitely get a little bit smudgy. So just be thoughtful about that. Try to make sure it's nice and smooth. I'm just going to blend that really softly right now. So we're getting there. We're starting to look like an ear, but we're not quite there yet. So this next step is what's really going to take us to this, making this look like an ear. We're going to be creating a lot of shadow happening out here, because as we know with an ear, this is what comes toward us. This is all back against our head. So I'm going to take my my 4B pencil right now, and I'm going to do a fair amount of graphite way out here. I'm pressing down relatively hard. I'm kind of doing those small little circles. I know that I'm going to be blending this again in a moment. Make sure you don't lose that edge. It doesn't mean you want a strong outline, but you want to know where the edge of that ear is. So don't let where you blended earlier get lost. And small circles, holding my pencil parallel to the paper. Then I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to darken up a lot of these areas inside. Again, I'm not really doing outlines, but I really want to refine some of these areas that I know are going to be nice and dark, like right in here. We have a dark area right in here. We have a darker area. And not all of these white areas are going to stay white either. We're going to soften those in a moment as well. Again, this is the part of the ear I'm working on right now that actually goes back into space. I'm going to darken that up a little bit as well. So we're starting to look a little bit more like an ear here, but we got to use our tortillon and blend these values. So let's get to work on that. I'm working all the way around here. As I keep my values nice and soft, subtle. I'll go back in and add some darker shadows in just a moment. You notice how I'm not doing long strokes with my tortillon. I'm going to do short circles. I know it's tempting to be impatient as we do this and want to work quicker, but this is definitely a process where it pays off in the end to go slow, deliberate, steady. As you can see, when we blend these shadows, that ear is going to start moving toward us. That's what we want. We want that ear to come forward, and we want that background to go back in space. You can see I've lost some of my edges down here. That's okay. I'm going to come back to that in just a moment. So let's clean up some of these edges around the ear. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to refine these edges just a little bit more. Notice how I'm not creating like a strong outline, not black, heavy outline, but I'm letting my edges here, this dark black graphite, fade into that shadow that I've already blended here. I'm keeping my lines nice and curved. Just like with the nose, we have a lot of different types of value on here. And it's that shift in value, all the different ranges of grays that we have that make this look realistic. If you have everything the same shade of gray, it's going to look very, very flat. I'm going to go back over this one more time, and I'm going to push even a little bit harder to make sure I really have a nice black shadow there that makes this ear really come forward. I'm going to push this back just a little bit more. All right, so I'm going to soften that just a little, just to lose some of those pencil lines. And now I'm going to do some more work on the interior edge of this ear. So I want to make sure this edge here is nice and crisp. And I don't want all of this to be pure white. Really, the highlight is right on the edge. So I'm going to do just some really, really light gray. So that highlight is really just on that edge of the ear. Coming around this way. Same thing, the highlight is coming from this direction. So I'm going to paint this just a really light gray so it's not all flat white, because coloring in everything one shade of gray can make things look flat, but also leaving everything white will make it look flat as well. Now we've got to do some work on this in here. Again, this is all flat white right now. We've got to blend that out. So I'm going to blend this. If you can still see that outline, you may want to erase that or soften it. Again, we don't want to see outlines happening in the center. Small circles. Let this go back a little bit in space. Just really, really light value shifts. Again, as I blend this now, this is coming back, this is coming forward because it's a little bit lighter. If as you're doing this you realize, oh no, I made this a little bit too dark, you can always take that eraser, erase out your highlights again, right? Go back in, erase out those highlights. Again, the things we make darker will go back in space. The things we leave lighter will come toward us. Same with this highlight out here on the edge of the ear. I'm going to take my eraser. I'm just going to lighten that up a little bit so I have a little bit more highlight happening in the ear. Same within here. And now we're going to work a little bit more here on the bottom. So I'm going to soften this edge. Again, you're going to look at your drawing and determine where do your edges need to be a little bit softer, where do your highlights need to be a little bit more defined. This is part of that critical looking when you do your drawings. I'm just going to fade out the edges on these shadows. If you have any spaces like here, you can kind of see my outline still there. I'm going to go in, just going to erase out that outline so I don't see that line. I just want there to be a shift in value there. So one of the very last things I'll do is just clean up this edge one last time. Again, it might feel like I'm putting in an outline, but I'm really just trying to refine this edge. One thing you might also want to do is turn your paper as you draw. I'm being careful to make sure I don't have a line there. I just want a really sharp shift in value from the lighter gray, which is the ear, to the background shadow. So I'm really pushing these dark values and making them nice and dark. I'm going to do a little of this work on the inside too. Again, no strong outlines, but just a really strong shift in value. It's this last minute kind of punching up of those dark values that really takes our drawing one step more into realism. One last pass of blending. Again, I'm not going to blend everything so much that it's one shade of gray. I'm just going to soften the edges a little bit more. Soften this a little bit in here, a little bit in here. And there you have it, your finished ear. Again, if you wanted to do this for fun, just for a little bit of extra practice, I think that's fantastic. But you certainly don't have to. Thanks, guys.